Thank you. And look, I'd like to thank Deputy Boyd Barrett and his colleagues for tabling this motion. And I want to say at the outset, I fully accept the bona fides of what's in the motion, for your own perspective. I don't agree with everything in it. There are parts, and just to say to Deputy Connolly, the 5-page counter motion, there's nothing in that that's incorrect. It's factual. You don't have to agree with it all, and I respect that too. But I think what the debate here again shows the scale of the challenges that we have in housing. And I just want to put that in context, if I may, Caherly, is we've had 10, 12 years of really significant undersupply. Undersupply of public social homes, no affordable homes to speak of at all. And we've got to turn that around. And we're not going to turn that around in a year or 2 years. We've had 1 year of housing for all. And I would say respectfully, to speak to what Deputy Connolly said, is that through Housing for All, we're putting in €4.5 billion in 2023, to over €4 billion this year. And it is about actually building public homes, social homes again. I believe in social housing. And this year, on new builds, we've targeted 9,000 new build social homes. New build between local authorities and approved housing bodies. New build homes. And that's really important. And I've had the pleasure in your own county, Alascown-Corla, in Deputy Boyd Barrett's constituency, in your own Caherly and Wexford, of meeting many people who are now getting those safe and secure homes for life. And there's a good pipeline into next year. Yes, of course, there are challenges. And we were restricted, and it is a fact. And I think Deputy Boyd Barrett, to be fair, has recognised this before. We had 2 very severe construction shutdowns in 2020 and 2021 that limited the amount of supply that we could put out there. But even in those years, if you take last year, on social housing alone, 9,183 social homes were delivered last year, just over 5,000 new builds, not enough at all. But we will, and a note in your motion as well, looking at the Q2 delivery figures. I'm going to say this to the House and say this to you specifically, Deputy, is that we're going to have very strong delivery on the social housing side in the last 2 quarters of this year. And a lot of it is always back-ended to the last end of the year when completions. And I'll address some of the Alascown-Corla's comments into the record as well, because I do want to respond specifically in relation to Galway. So it's about building the platform and putting the foundations in to deliver social homes at a scale that we haven't seen before. 90,000 between now and 2030. And your suggestion, and again I respect the suggestion and the policy that your party have, is about creating a state construction company. Okay, and letting this state construction company do all this building of public homes. I would ask, like, how long would it take to get that state construction company up and running? To get it effected, to get it established, to get the people in to do it, to get the land to it to do it, to deliver those additional homes that you need. And I would say to you that the Land Development Agency, and I fully agree in the concept of using idle state land to provide homes for our people, and that's actually what we're doing this year. For the first time, the LDA has delivered homes. I was in the homes in Mallow this year in Cork. We're breaking ground in Shanganagh Castle, which you know very well yourself, Deputy. Just under 600, all affordable social homes, all of them. St Kevin's in Cork, cost rental, affordable purchase, social, and there'll be thousands more. We've actually planning applications in through the LDA on state land for affordable and social homes for about 2,500 new properties. So it's happening. The delivery this year, the overall target under Housing for All is 24,600. You'll say, and I understand that that is not enough. And it isn't enough. But it's about building that capacity up, having the people to actually build the stuff. Okay? Now, pre-pandemic, when we look at the levels, the numbers of people in construction versus what's in there now, there's actually 20,000 more. That's because the plan is actually giving the confidence in the sector that there's going to be a safe, secure and stable housing market. And we've got to build that capacity up. So thankfully this year, it's projected, and from the data and research that I've done, we'll exceed the overall target. We might not hit all the targets within it, but we will exceed the overall target. And we'll deliver affordable purchase homes for the first time in a generation. And they're homes starting from 166,000 in Lusk in my own area to Kilcarbery in South Dublin, right the way across. And I'm actually approved through the Affordable Housing Fund, and these are local authority-led delivered affordable housing. Already about 1,900 homes through 30 schemes across the country, and we're approving more and more. And that's with real money, with actually the state putting in that subvention, taking that equity piece to allow the low and middle income earner to actually buy that home. And the First Home scheme, which Deputy Canny had, and just again for the purpose of the record in the Dáil is said they don't know about it in Galway. Actually, we've had about 20 approvals already of actual houses with actual people in a very short space of time just in Galway County. And that's ramping up. We've had 600 approvals, real families, real people, to buy real homes at an affordable rate, people who were locked out of the market for years, many of whom are renting, and who, if they could get a mortgage, would be paying a lot less. And I want those targeted supports in there because I believe in home ownership and I believe in public housing. And we've actually seen a reduction in the numbers of people in social housing, but not social housing waiting lists, but not near enough. I do want to address the issue of HAP that's been raised. Firstly, HAP is a scheme, is a support for about 60,000 households. And I'm certain no one is suggesting that we flick the switch and turn off HAP overnight. But what I have done in the 2 years that I've been minister is reduce the dependence on HAP and transferring people out of HAP into permanent tenancies, about 4,000 households. And I'm allowing for a lesser increase in HAP tenancies this year and next year indeed, because I want more people in permanent social homes. So what we've got to do is to deliver them. So like this year, we will have significantly more new build social homes than last year and then in decades. And we've got to build on that again. So next year we're targeting 29,000 and it moves on from there. It's not going to be changed overnight. The issue of vacancy, I've brought back, by the end of this year, over 7,500 vacant social homes back into use. Our local authorities have to be quicker at tenanting them and re-tenanting them and turning them around. And they don't all have to be deep retrofit either, as Deputy Healy-Rae suggested. I want those homes back in safe, good use, and we're doing it, and that is actually happening. So when I look at the measures within the motion that's been put down, with the exception of the commentary that led into the motion, there's elements of the motion that I would completely agree with. And I want to use my opportunity here today, particularly on the notices to quit with tenants in situ. RAS tenants, HAP tenants. I have told every single local authority in person with their directors of services for housing and their chief executives over a housing summit last Thursday week, again in writing, that any tenant who's issued a notice to quit, who's a HAP or a RAS tenant, the local authority should buy the home. End of story. No condition. They don't need to come back to me to ask for it. Now, since then, and I think you'd questioned the Taoiseach on this last week, Deputy, as well, is that we've about 650 properties, and I hope to get more. And the local authorities have been told very clearly they're to do it. If anyone comes across instances where that is not happening, there are one or two exceptions, such as criminal, antisocial behaviour, something like that, that's fine. I think we would all agree on that. But I want that done as a measure to help people not fall into homelessness as we're building up our supply, but also it increases the public housing stock that we have. And I've been very clear about it, and I'm not putting any further conditions on it. I want them to do it. I want to deliver affordable housing, which we're doing. And if I could talk about cost rental. Like, cost rental didn't exist in this country 12 months ago. We legislated for it in the Affordable Housing Act, which I know you opposed, and that's your right to oppose the Affordable Housing Act, but you did. Within that, legislated for the first time for a national cost rental scheme. Now, we've already got hundreds of tenancies in place in that scheme, and I want hundreds and thousands of more of them. And it's extremely popular because we've seen every cost rental scheme that's been advertised has been oversubscribed. And it's been oversubscribed because I can't deliver 10,000 cost rental units overnight. And you know that, and in fairness, the general public know that too. So it's about building the capacity and having a robust plan that's fully funded, that's actually going to be able to drive this development, both public and private. In the area of vacancy, I'll ask Cahirley if I could say, again in the budget and recently I've announced the Croí Cónaithe vacancy grants. We vacant and derelict homes right across this country, and it is expanded into the rural areas from the 1st of November. And I have announced that. That's to answer Deputy Danny Healy-Rae earlier on. That's done. So 30,000 for a vacant home, 50,000 for a derelict home. And since August, there's been over 400 applications to that scheme. And that's people who want to buy that home and use that money to defray the cost of renovating that home. We're also expanding the buy and renew, which is local authorities buying those vacant and derelict homes and doing them up and bringing them back into public use. And that's happening through repair and lease really well in some counties. Other counties need to be supported to do more. In Waterford, in Limerick, some really, really good work in conversion of old commercial buildings, where I've set aside the planning, by the way, for conversion from commercial to residential. So there are many, many things happening, and momentum is building around it. Is it all done in 1 year? Of course it's not. No one would suggest that it could be. And that's why I certainly take on board, and the manner in which the Deputy has raised the points that he has from his policy position, many of those things are actually happening.
Thank you.